They say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and while this may be true, ultimately to imitate you're doing nothing more than copying what already exists. The key to good imitation is to insert your own originality and to be more than a copycat. A balancing act that this film tips the scales of on either side. My name is Isla, and this is my review of Studio Ponoc's Mary and the Witch's Flower. Obviously, to look at this film, it exudes the very purity of Studio Ghibli. And how could it not when the majority of the staff that worked on this fantasy tale came from the former studio? The choice of story, right down to the detail in the animation, all tugs on the familiar, in a way that's both comforting and off-putting at times, because this is not Studio Ghibli, and that becomes very apparent during the roughly 2-hour journey that we take with Mary. She is a regular little girl who has moved to the countryside to live with her great aunt Charlotte. Her vibrant personality is as colourful as her bright red hair, but despite her best intentions, she falls short when it comes to helping those around her. She is clumsy, unlucky, and very much ordinary, wishing to be someone other than herself, until she follows a black cat into the woods and stumbles across the witch's flower, the fly-by-night. This special flower gives whoever touches it magical powers, and our story takes off from there. Quite literally. While this movie, based on the 1971 novel The Little Broomstick, is easy to follow, it also does something spectacular in its execution. The magical world built by Riko Sakaguchi and Hiromasa Yonobayashi is simply wonderful. Everything from the design of the Magic College of Endor, to the idea of the witch's flower, to the broom's house, feel really enchanting. So much so that I was pretty disappointed it wasn't explored more. I wanted to spend more time in that college that Mary tours, but what we do see in the background is a fantastic example of exuberant imagination. To create creativity to that level is something only ever achieved in animation, and does deserve credit. This is all brought together by faultless animation. The staff who moved from Ghibli to Ponoc have taken their skills and pushed them to the next level, so much so that the animation in The Witch's Flower is better than anything achieved at Ghibli, on a technical standpoint. From the movement of a cat's paw, to the fluidity in the water, to Mary in flight. It all moves so seamlessly that I found myself awestruck by what these animators achieved. It is very apparent they spent a long time on the animation process, and the little details do not go unnoticed. This is all underpinned by a gorgeous mystical soundtrack that hits this fantasy adventure with the right beats at the right moment. Despite all of this, Mary and the Witch's Flower falls flat in the place that matters most, the story. Now don't get me wrong, it's a good story with a lovely adventure, but it lacks the heart that made Studio Ghibli the powerhouse that it is. And while there are countless homages to Ghibli films peppered throughout this tale, it's missing something special. Hiromasa Yonobayashi is no Hayao Miyazaki, and that's not a bad thing, but when the outer shell of your film is an imitation, the inside has to match it or succeed it, and no one can succeed Miyazaki, not even his protege. A Miyazaki film is made without structure or story, based solely on an idea that's then taken through a painstakingly difficult storyboarding process until the end anime is complete. Sometimes this can be a big hit, or sometimes it's a big miss, but ultimately, regardless of what story Miyazaki wanted to tell, it feels organic and natural, as if the world he has created flows with a sense of realism that transcends its animation. And while Mary and the Witch's Flower tries to capture this feeling, I still felt as if I was being told a story rather than engrossed in one. I could feel it hit its story beats and almost see its scripting, which is absolutely fine under normal circumstances, but when you're visually presented with what essentially looks like a Studio Ghibli film, then you come to expect a little bit more magic than Mary managed to produce. It doesn't have a deeper meaning, and the ending is a little bit lackluster. But bubbling under the surface, I can see that Yonobayashi wants to be his own storyteller, but he's still trying to figure out what kind of stories he wants to tell. Mary and the Witch's Flower might feel like a bit of a splintered soul, but there are a lot of great ideas in there that ultimately make it a good Sunday movie watch. But the real magic? Well, that'll be them shedding a little bit of that Ghibli shell and finding their own identity. And when they do, Studio Ponoc has the potential to truly soar. 魔法
が溶けると僕らは知ってる。月が咲いて太陽